Hi everybody, hopefully having a fantastic day wherever you are. This video is about the reason that Australians are becoming homeless, really. There's no other way we can really walk around the wording. I lived in Bangkok and Pattaya, Thailand for three and a half years. And during the time there, I was what you call an IELTS trainer, which is the International English Language Test, which you require to get residency and citizenship in Australia, or education visa, and to work in Australia as well. It's like it adds to the points if you've got a high score. I don't really understand all the visa conditions, but I was always meeting Indians and Chinese on their way to Australia. Now, just to let you know, I hadn't lived in Australia for 20 years, ever since mid-2000s. Well, I hadn't really been back to Australia. I didn't know how bad it was. And I didn't really see it wasn't on TV in Japan or Thailand, because I spent most of my time in Japan. I'm just trying to think of the words because I don't want to start screaming. But I realized now I realize that I do believe that the Australian government is openly committing treason against the Australian people. It sounds like that's a big thing to say. It's very hyperbolic, isn't it? But I just thought, no. They're trying to crush the great Australian culture, traditions, traits. They're not doing anything to stop that. In fact, they've just invented words to stop us from defending our culture. Islamophobia, transphobia, what else? What other phobias they've got? They've got all of them. Homophobia, that was an old one, wasn't it? But in Pattaya, running a little IELTS program there, where people would come for 20 hours, 40 hours, 60 hours, 80 hours, 100 hours, 120 hours. A lot of Chinese and a lot of Indians, would be popping in, taking the training, and that was quite. Some of them were quite shocking. They wouldn't be able to be functional in Australia, in their language skills. In particular, the Chinese, the Indians, a lot of them were great. You knew that they were going to be fine. So I'd say you probably just don't need to be here. You should just speak to people who don't speak Hindi. You'll be fine. And I have to admit something. Most of these people are really great, nice, very decent, great manners and everything. I'm not complaining about them being Indian or Chinese. There's no problem with that. But I learned something, in particular the Chinese, but the Indians told me as well, how they purchase homes in Australia. Alright, so the Chinese only use the Bank of China in Australia to purchase homes. The Bank of China has a preferred suburb list, and it's not difficult for a Chinese person to get a bank loan for $2 million in Australia to purchase a home. What they'll then do, but to be honest with you, I don't know how they get away with this. Let's say it's a 4-bedroom home. Now, there's a lot of Chinese small to medium-sized businesses in Australia. that they only hire Chinese. Indians only hire Indians. Vietnamese only hire Vietnamese. Arabs only hire... Well, sorry, I should say nation by nation, still incredibly tribal. Syrians will hire Syrians, Iraqis will hire Iraqis, Saudis will hire Saudis. That's just how it works. Qataris will hire Qataris, etc., etc. Pakistanis will hire Pakistanis. That's how it works. In fact, that's how it worked in Pattaya. I noticed that as well. But what the Chinese will do is they will register the home as a rental with the rental tenancy RTA, I think it is. Rental tenancy authority, I think. But 20 people will live in that home. And they'll be working for the same business or a group of businesses that are owned by people who own that home. And these businesses will only cater to the Chinese. Won't even worry about catering to Australians. Also, they have their own apps on their own telephones. So they don't need Uber, they have a Chinese one. The car doesn't even turn up to the house. It's not with any, symbol of the app. Because all the transactions are done in China on the Chinese app, so they did never even see $1 in Australia, right? But there'll be 20 people in the home. I'll give his name as Leon. He would tell me, this is how we do it. This is how we do it everywhere. The United States, Australia, Europe, this is how we do it. Those people will pay, a percentage of their income to the homeowner, or just a flat rental fee each week. But those homes are full of bunk beds. Something that really got to me was he showed me properties that he owned. He owned 2 in Drummoyne, near where my grandparents lived, like right there on the water. And I remembered the street he showed me, and I'm thinking, I remember in the 80s and 90s early 90s I guess, when my grandparents lived there, and how beautiful it was, and how it was just those 2. And now, that was 3 bedroom. Now there's probably 12 to 18 people living in that apartment. I mean, the apartment he bought wasn't in the same building, but they're all similar. There's 12, 18 people going in and out? Disgusting. Not only this, there was something else I noticed. In the photos he sent, there's the cars. Cars are everywhere on the street now. And Leon said to me, I got a complaint in Sydney about, the police came to the home and knocked and said, whose cars are these? The Chinese guys just said no English, and the police just left. Right? But everybody on the street, he said, police, they call the police sometimes because, so many cars, and they will block the driveway. I don't know if they could get away with that even in China. Met an Indian guy as well who said, we do the same thing. We'll bring people over on the student visa. They'll work 100 hours a week. Or a fortnight. They'll work 50 hours a week. Which he said, it's amazing how open people are outside of Australia. He said it was a complete criminal scam because you're supposed to only work, I think it was 20 hours a week by law, but all of them are working 50 hours plus. And again, they cram 20 people into a 4-bedroom home. Now, just think about it. And there will only be 2 people on the rental tenancy. And I don't understand how they can get away with that. Where are these international students anyway? And I asked, I'm not going to say his real name, we'll call him Sandy. Sandy told me they don't stay, they stay for about a year maximum. and we move them to another place. But the thing is, he said it's so slow for anything to happen in Australia. Like, it doesn't matter to us, because by the time they actually come to look at the home, investigate, the student has moved to another house. But I can't understand. Wouldn't the address change? Like, don't they have to have a registered address? He goes, yeah, they don't. Think about it. It's money coming into Australia from international students. They just don't go after us for it. But again, Indian-owned businesses, Indians employed only. Everything is cash. They don't pay taxes. They'll pay the minimum required to keep the business operating, but everything is cash sale. The importers are Indian, the distributor is Indian, the wholesalers are Indian, everybody in the shop, any repairs are done by Indians. It's a completely separate economy. So the idea that we're a diverse society is bullshit. We're basically racial enclaves, okay? And some people will, and I guarantee you Australians will do this too, but some people will scam the system because they know they can get away with it. The difference between the Indians and the Chinese, though, is the Chinese can go to Bank of China and get a loan for the preferred suburbs. It's not difficult. But for Indians, they'll borrow like $1,000 from 2,000 people back home, then pay them back little by little. But also, the family members of those people that they've just borrowed money from will be the ones that they bring over, right? And it's sort of he said that, Sandy said there's a network that we just keep using. Once you've invested, we're going to work with you to try to get your people over. Then we'll try to do another house as well. But he said at the end of the day, the rents, they're making so much by putting 20 people in one home, or 15 people, 20 people, 4 people a bedroom, bunk beds and all this. They're making so much that they're basically buying a home every few months. Like they said it's so easy in Australia. You just turn up to the bank with double the usual deposit, and the bank will just go, yep, you can have it. The Australian population has gone, year 2000 it was 20 million. 2025 it's increase of just under 50%. And if the infrastructure hasn't kept up, the housing hasn't kept up, everything's too expensive now. Homeless Australians are going homeless. We're losing everything about our country too, because anytime we just want to raise the Australian flag, there are people out there who will assault us, and then we get called racists, Islamophobes, and everything under the sun. What else? We just get called everything under the sun when we want to stick up for who we are in our country and our way. And you just keep thinking, why does the Australian government do this? Why would it allow it? Even if all the policies today stopped and said no migration today, we can't recover. We cannot recover from the problems that have happened due to government policy. And if they don't stop today, and if they continue, the problems are going to get worse. It's a cancer. If you don't stop it now, it grows. Now, as I said, Indians and Chinese, great, fantastic, love them, but we cannot allow all these people into the country. And I said, it's like, if you think about this, India in year 2000 was 1 billion people. If we suddenly just today threw Indonesia and Pakistan into that country, that would be a 50% increase in population, like Australia over the same period. I wonder how the Indians would feel. They probably wouldn't like it. Well, that's Australia. And yet, when we complain about it, we're called racist. It's just, there's no logic behind this. But we're in a horrendous situation Coming back here was the worst mistake I've ever made. Listen to what I just said. I'm Australian, born Australian, grew up here, raised here. The Blue Mountains of New South Wales, lower Blue Mountains. It was a mistake for me to come back to my own nation. Do you know how it feels to say that? It's actually, I feel bad for saying that. Like, how dare I say that? But that's just how I feel. And I have no future in this country. Highly educated, highly skilled, 3 university degrees, MBA. I digitized a Thai university. I made them, went from analog to digital, or digital applications and everything. I can't get a job in this country. Yeah, it's very strange. I know why I can't get a job too. A HR manager actually said, we really only need Hindi and Chinese speakers nowadays. You know, it's like we really want people who speak those languages. We don't even need Japanese speakers anymore. Because one of the colleges I worked for in Brisbane while I was in Japan, they wanted a Japanese speaking Australian. So anyway, nowadays they say, no, we don't even need Japanese. They're not coming. They can't afford it. And amazingly, 2 weeks ago at one of the gyms I go to, there were a couple of Japanese gentlemen there. They said they may go back because it's so expensive now. They're like shocked. And we were comparing prices for properties in the middle of Tokyo, Japan, that were large properties compared to like right on the outskirts of the Gold Coast for the same. They're like triple the price of prime Tokyo real estate. You're like, what? What's going on? For a long time, our political leaders have traded Australian quality of living for Australians and the preservation of our culture for new Labor Party voters. And the Liberal Party have been nothing but supportive of this. And these people do not assimilate. They do not engage in the Australian culture. I'd say the majority don't. They'll take our money, but they won't assimilate. They won't become what Australia is all about. The Australian government helps them. They've now just set up an illegal migrant help help centre. Like, are you serious? The amount of money that the Australian government is spending on illegal on migrants coming into this country who just fill the low-skill labour jobs, they don't really add value to the economy. That money could have been spent on Indigenous Australians getting apprenticeships, like electricians, carpentry, motor mechanic, building. They could have done really well for themselves, really had. But no. Instead of that, the government decided that our future is in migrants who have completely different ideologies to us. That to me is a case study in treason. And yet there are still people out there that vote Labor and Liberal and the Greens. I believe that the Greens are just the radical left-wing lunatic arm of the Labor Party. Their job is to get the radical left-wing lunatics to vote for Labor, right? So like the Democratic Party in the US. You have democratic socialists like that Bernie Sanders. And he's only really just a puppet for the Democratic Party, which, as we see, is one of the greatest money launderers and grifting organisations the world has ever seen. If we have a look at Minnesota, California, New York, what's going on there, Philadelphia as well, and even Ohio, you know. So yeah, I'm probably going to try to get out of this country again, cut my losses. I've lost everything. I have nothing left actually, so I don't exactly know what I'm going to do. I don't think there's much I can do, but it is really sad. This is no longer my country, because there's nothing I can do to stop the treason of the Australian federal and state and councils as well, because their budgets keep going up and up and up, and we're paying for it, and we don't have any money left. Yeah. I guess that's how communism works, right? It works until nobody has any money left. Australian federal government, state governments, councils, they're just kleptocracies. So, anyway, don't know what to do anymore. But yeah, I can't recognise my country. So, stay safe, good people. Stay peaceful. Don't raise your hands because someone's a migrant. Don't do that kind of shit. Can't blame them. They thought this country was great too. I've had migrants complain too. They can't afford to live here. But no, it's definitely got to vote them out. Vote these bastards out. And vote for people that... I don't give a shit what their policies are, but they just have to be pro-Australian. And they have to say we have to get back to 20 million people. Or find a way to reverse the damage done by importing another 50% population from the year 2000 to 2025. It's unsustainable. This place will go down, and it is going down, and no one can deny it who's on the street, who's living it. Politicians can, because they live in Canberra and they have no idea what the hell goes on, or they live in the lavish lifestyle luxury suburbs of their state capitals, so they don't know what goes on. And they have nice big fences too, so they don't have to see what's actually happening in the streets. That's a shame. Alright, good people. Stay safe. God bless. Bye for now.